Good morning and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Kitty and I do all things plant. I have about 250 plants last time I counted. I have a plant shelf as well as an IKEA greenhouse cabinet. I love anything plants. Today we are going to learn how to propagate a string of arrows, as well as a string of hearts and a Dischidia Ruscifolia Variegata, or million hearts plant. For the string of hearts and string of arrows, we're going to learn the butterfly method as well as propagating them in water. And for the Dischidia, we are going to propagate her in water. So let's get started. Let's get propagating. So here you can see we've gathered up all of our cuttings as well as all of our supplies. In order to master these two methods, you need a container with sphagnum moss that has a lid on it. These are tubes that I have to put the water propagations in. We have our string of hearts. These are our string of spades. This is our Dischidia Ruscifolia Million Hearts Variegata. And we also need a sharp pair of snippers. Here you can see we have all of our propagation supplies that we're going to need. I have 2 water vessels. These are test tubes. These are where we're going to put our water propagations. We have a Tupperware container that has sphagnum moss in it. We have a pair of snippers, which is very important because you can't cut plants without snippers. I have a container with water. I love these bottles with the long tubes in them. They're so convenient. And we have our plants. We have our string of hearts, which is right here, totally tangled. We have string of hearts. We have string of spades. You can see they're all very long. And we also have our, if I can get it untangled, this is our Dischidia Ruscifolia Million Hearts. You can see the teeny tiny hearts, they're so cute. So the first thing I'm going to do is, the sphagnum moss is not super damp, so I'm just going to put some water in there. You want it to be damp enough that it's wet when you touch it, but not so wet that you can squeeze and the water can come out. So you can see this is perfect. So we'll set that aside. We are going to start with our string of spades because they're really long. So I have one that is already cut short. I'm going to set that one aside because that one's going to be butterflied. Hey kitty. Let's take, these are a good 3.5 feet long that I cut off my plant. We're going to take this one, and you can see how long it is, and I'm going to cut it. It branches off into 2. It actually branches off into 3. You can see there's a little piece right here. So we are going to cut that top off and make it into 2 strands. Right there. And then we can work with one at a time. So we'll set that guy down. And now we have this guy. And you can see in between, on this one, you want to cut, when you cut your plant, you want to cut it in between 2 sets of leaves. So for this one, we're going to do part of it butterfly and part of it water propagation. So for the water propagation, I'm going to cut approximately in half. So I'm going to cut between these 2 nodes, just like that. So now we have 2 halves. The half with the bigger leaves, I'm going to do the butterfly method with, so we'll set that on our butterfly pile. And the set with the smaller leaves, we're going to water propagate. So when you water propagate, you can cut off the extra bit of stem, and that'll go in the trash pile. You want to take your snippers and cut off the lowest most leaves. So you just want to remove them. The reason that you do that is this node right here. This is where your roots are going to come from. So for these, we'll put him in the green one. And I'm going to do the same thing with my other two strands. So this one is actually perfect because it looks like it was cut right here. So I'm just going to take that off, and then these two gigantic sets of leaves we're going to butterfly, and this little strand right here we're going to water prop. So we'll cut it right here. These go in our butterfly pile, which is right here next to the moss. And then just like the other one, we're going to cut off the extra stem, and we're going to take off the bottommost two leaves. And that goes in our water tube. Okay, now we've got all of our water propagations for the string of hearts, string of spades in their little tube. We can focus on the Dischidia. Dischidia is going to be roughly the same. You're going to take the end that was cut, which is this end right here, and I am going to take the leaves off up to about 2 inches, which is right here. So I'm going to cut off 4 sets of leaves. And then if you look at this, you can see that it already has some aerial roots, which is good. That's what we want. So this you can stick in the tube as well. He's going to have his own little tube. So those are the water propagations. Now we're going to focus on the butterfly method of propagating these. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the strands that you have set aside for butterfly propagation, and we are going to cut each of these sets of leaves into their own little set. I leave about an inch, inch and a half of stem with the leaves, so that if something happens and it starts to rot, you're not going to immediately lose your propagations. And then I also take off the stems in between the nodes. Here's our giant string of hearts leaves, which are going to make a beautiful plant. So there's 2 done. Here's another one. This is string of spades. There's that one. So now that we've got all of our hearts cut apart, now we're going to go to our container of moss. And what you're going to do is, for each of the little sets of hearts, you're going to take the stem on the opposite side of the leaves and just set it on top of the moss. And we're going to do that for each of our little propagations. So now you can see we have all of our propagations. I'm going to give him just a little bit more water. And we're going to close him up. Now with these, you want to take them and put them in an area that's warm. You don't want them to be cold because they won't grow. And you also want to make sure that every day or so, you open the lid, check to make sure that they're not moldy. Because if you don't have any air circulation, my container doesn't have any holes, you will get mold and they will die. So you just want to check them periodically just to make sure that there's no mold. And eventually they'll root. You'll be able to see the roots on the bottom of the container. And once they start shooting out their own little vines, then you can transfer them over to soil. For the water propagations, Now that I have them all in their little containers, I'm gonna take my little water and we're gonna fill them up. You want to go up over the nose, but you don't want to get the leaves wet because the leaves can rot. You don't want the leaves sitting in the water. So that's the million hearts. Now we're gonna do the string of hearts. So there we go. We have all of our nodes in the water, but we don't have the leaves sitting in the water because we don't want those to rot. Thank you so much for joining me for my first planty video. If you could leave a like or subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, especially because I'm just getting started. It lets me know that you enjoy my content, and it will let me know that I need to make more for you. Thank you so much again for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye!